Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 21st of April. Today, Ukraine and Russian Federation and Belarus, these countries, they are celebrating Easter. And we heard that a few days ago Russians announced and informed that there would be no Easter ceasefire these days, but I can say that the intensity of heavy clashes and fire today is much less than, so we can say that there is Easter ceasefire today. There is not much changes on the front line, so I think that today we can discuss the most important topic. I'm not saying the one of the most important, I'm saying the most important topic of this campaign: support. The support of West countries to Ukraine. And before we start this video, I would like to show you one very interesting comment that we received yesterday in the Military Summary community. Let's take a look. I'll read it in loud. 7,000 Javelin anti-tank systems have been sent to Ukraine to date. Ukraine uses 1 week's worth of Javelin in 1 day. Only 269 Soviet tanks have been visually confirmed destroyed. There is panic among the US leadership, as reported by American military analysts, about running low on the Javelins and about their ineffectiveness against Russian tanks. Only 1/3 of the total useful stockpile has been depleted on the old Soviet tanks. That is according to the Pentagon. The 269 visually confirmed losses is not the concrete number either, as many have been double photographed and a few misidentified. But the number lies somewhere in the area. This is a very important comment. And for now, I just want you to remember the idea, the thoughts that appeared during reading this comment. This is very important. We will come back to this comment in the end of this video. But for now, just remember your main thoughts when I read this comment. What was your main thoughts? I think that most of you thought about that there is a problem that the US Javelin is not effective against Russian tanks. I think that most of you thinks like that. But in the end of this video, I will try to change your mind. I hope I will be able to change your mind. Not to change, but to upgrade your idea about all this situation. And now let's start from the Russian sources map, from the town by the name Balakleya. This town located between Izium area, this is the Izium, and Kharkiv. This week, Russian military authorities, they informed that they managed to capture one of the biggest warehouse in the territory of Ukraine. They told that there was thousands of tons of ammunition, shells, and war equipment. And just few sources told, and this is the details, only few sources told, and not even like in wide public, just in very small channels I managed to find this information, that it was not a simple and regular store. It was the biggest store of 152 millimeters shells. What is 152 millimeter shells? I'll try to explain to you. This is the shells that are used for artillery system, Soviet artillery systems. These systems are used by the ex-Soviet countries. In Ukraine has a lot of such kind of systems that uses 152 millimeters shells. For now, as far as I know, according to the official sources, I know that Ukraine has more than 1,000 of such systems. And as far as I know, the losses among these systems that uses 152 millimeters shells is the lowest in comparison with other types of weapon and equipment. For example, Ukrainians, they lost a lot of tanks during this war as Russians. It's not something like Ukraine loses and Russians they're not. Yes, it's both sides losses and they are very high. In armored vehicles and so on. But the artillery systems, it's the kind of type of military forces in Ukraine that there was less losses during this conflict, during this war or during this special operation. After Russians announced that they managed to capture this store, the biggest store of 152 millimeter shells, something like in a day or in a two, the West sources announced that West countries started to supply Ukrainians with their artillery systems. The question is the following. If Ukrainians have more than 1,000 artillery systems, 152 millimeters artillery systems, and believe me, that's enough to protect not just the Donbas arc. 1,000 artillery systems is enough to protect maybe the entire Russia. That's a lot. That's really a lot. And why do West countries announce that they're planning to support Ukraine with their artillery systems? This is the first question. Another thing, you need to understand that NATO countries, West countries, they are using their artillery system, and this artillery system uses 155 millimeters shells. So that's mean that these two systems, they cannot use the same shells. That's mean that something happened, and this urgency of replacing of Ukrainian systems means something. I discovered that there are two countries in the world who produce these shells. Of course, it's Russian Federation. There are a lot of such shells in Belarus. There is a lot of such shells in Ukraine, at least was before Russia announced that they took one of the stores in Balakleia. And Bulgaria is the second country where such types of weapon are produced. And this is Bulgaria. This is it. According to Russian sources, they're saying that the power, industrial power of Bulgaria is not enough to fill Ukrainians' needs, to fit Ukrainian needs in this war. And I'll repeat myself, this week, West countries, they announced that they're starting to supply Ukraine with their artillery system. And we saw a picture from France that they're sending here their artillery system by the name of Caesar. It's a very powerful artillery system. Now I will tell you the information that I got from Russian sources. I'll repeat myself. This is the information from the Russian sources. It's just information for you to understand what's going on in their publics. And they're saying that during that operation, Russia took in Balakleia one of the most important stores where Ukrainians stored these 152 millimeter shells. And this store supposed to support Kharkiv group and Izium group. And they lost this store. And Russian sources, they're saying that there is real lack of these shells on the front lines. And it's not just like lack of the shells in the front lines, it's lack of the shells on the front lines before this special operation in the Donbass cauldron. We can say that right before the Russians start their operation in Donbass, Ukrainians, they don't have shells to protect artillery, they don't have the entire artillery to fight against Russians. So that's why, according to Russian sources, they're saying that's why this is one of the reasons why West countries started to supply Ukraine with this artillery system, with 155 millimeters artillery system. And we heard a lot that West countries supplies a lot of these systems, and I'm telling you that this is very good for Ukraine. The list and the quantity of equipment that was sent to Ukraine is pretty big. They're planning to supply with the systems and also with their shells, and it's good for Ukraine. I also investigate and search about the comments in the Russian sources about the situation, and some military Russian experts, they told one very smart thing. We saw a lot of comments in the military summary community. People are saying very right things. They're saying that, of course, it will take months to learn people, Ukrainian soldiers, to use this equipment. I think that it would take less, at least to learn using these West types of artillery systems. It's not drones. It's just artillery systems. They're the same everywhere. You just push the button and you attack and you're shot with this system. It will take less time. And Russian sources, they're not saying that it will be a very big problem to teach Ukrainians. Everybody understand that in week, the real artillery soldiers, they will understand to find out the way how to use this West artillery system. It's obviously. But Russian sources, they're pointing on another very important thing. They're saying, and it's very important, that this system is one single usage system. What does it mean, single usage system? I'll explain you. For example, Russians, they're established between Balakleya, between this town, Senkovo, Kruglanka, between Kupiansk and Izium, somewhere here in this area, they established their own service center. So every kind of equipment that was damaged, broken, Russians, they're trying to take from the battlefield and they bring here. So imagine yourself, this is the front line, and somewhere here we can calculate it's less than, let's say this is Izium, the main battlefield. So it's around less than 100 kilometers. So they need to move their forces, their broken equipment, less than 100 kilometers in direction to the north, and this equipment will be totally restored. And I know that for now, Ukrainians, they don't have here even a service center to fix their Soviet equipment, Soviet tanks and Soviet armored vehicles. There are just people who know how to do this. And of course, in the battalions, in some groups, there is, of course, people who know how to fix Soviet equipment, and they will do this. They don't need even maybe a service center. But what are Ukrainians going to do with, for example, Franz Caesars? Imagine yourself, if we know that Russians are bombing all the railway station, imagine yourself that these Caesars will enter Ukraine from this area. And imagine yourself that this Caesar, its transmission will be broken somewhere in the Vinnytsia. I can tell you that this Caesar won't go further. It will stand there. Because there is no parts, there is no people, there is nothing in Ukraine what can fix these vehicles, these West vehicles. And also this is one of the reasons why the United States of America, they don't supply Ukraine with their modern weapon because they understand that it will be a single usage weapon. Because you need to understand, the people who connected with military in the war, they know that you need to fix, you need to do some stuff with your vehicles every day. You need to change oil, you need to change everything, you need to keep your vehicle in work position so this vehicle will be workable. And imagine yourself, West countries are bringing in Ukraine dozens of equipment and there is no place even to change oil there, to change, I don't know, parts in there. And you don't need to destroy this vehicle. You can destroy just their transmission or chassis, and these equipment are no longer to be valid in these areas. You need to understand, I'm not against this support. I understand that this is the only one option. If what the Russians are saying in truth, that they managed to capture one of the biggest store of 152mm shells, and for Ukrainians there is no other options. For West countries there is no other options just to send there at least anything, at least any kind of artillery system before the big Russian attack. So it's very good, it's really very good, but you shouldn't count on this. It's a very short-term action. And until Ukrainians establish some services and learn how to fix this weapon, how to fix this equipment, and until they get part for this equipment, this help won't be such effective. This is the first part of our video. I hope you understood what I'm trying to say about this support. And this is kind of support. Now let's talk about the global scope of this support. I will use the online drawing, so I will try to explain you another part of supply, schema of supply. Let's imagine that this is UA, this is Ukraine, this is the United States of America, the federal budget, we can say, and this is the plant or the store where the armor and weapon produced. First of all, you need to understand that every help that moves to Ukraine is not for free. Everything is paid by the budget of the United States of America. Everything. Every single bullet is paid by the United States. And according to the situation we know, Ukraine receives a lot of weapon and equipment. We can call it supply. This is the supply. So factories, they're sending their supply to UA. If we are talking about the business, about the company's relations, we know that, for example, UA is not UA, it's like, for example, a company. This company has customers paying for UA, for example, for this company services or products. This company receives money, income, and then this company pays to vendors, suppliers for products. And then it's like an endless cycle of the life of the company. But there is a difference in this situation. First of all, Ukraine doesn't have customers. But in this case, Ukraine doesn't receive money from the West countries. According to the policy of supply, the United States of America, they're paying directly to the warehouses and plants which provides and produce the weapon for Ukraine. And this is very important. Now I'm planning to tell you the things I'm familiar with. I know exactly what I'm talking about. When there is a government contracts, and as far as I know, there is no competition between companies for the government contracts to supply Ukraine. As far as I know, everybody who can supply Ukraine can ask the US, but the US authorities for the help, and they can supply. Of course, the US authorities, they're choosing these plants, these companies to supply Ukraine. And in this case, As far as I see, there is no control over the costs and there is no control over the prices of the weapon which is supplied to Ukraine. In SIA region, we are calling these deals as the deals without the product. What does it mean? That means that there is a company, fake company, which created by companies like this, product company, and they have some contract with government. They do something for the fake company, and sometimes they're doing something for this fake company without even doing something. They're just getting the money from the budget. They're showing on the paper that they're doing something for this company, but to tell the truth, they're doing nothing. They're just making invoices and that's it. After they receive money from such company, from budget, of course, they're showing their expenses, fake expenses. And one of these fake expenses is, for example, marketing services, lawyer services, accounting services, or IT services. This is the main articles of their expenses in this company. And using these lawyers, accountings, consultings, IT companies, they created a lot of expenses in their company which reduced their taxation in particular area, for example, in England, in the US. And using these services, they're transferring their money to another countries. I think that, for example, we can say that in Belarus, in SIA region, for example, if you're talking about SIA region, we have like very legal, a lot of benefits in Belarus taxation. For example, in Belarus, you can pay just 2% from turnover and 9% from dividends, and all your money will be clear and clean. And this is the schema, as far as I see from my experience, that now works in all Ukraine support. And according to my experience, I can say that, of course, Ukraine, they received support from the West countries. But according to my experience, according to my knowledge in all this regulation, in all this taxation, I can say that in the best case for Ukraine, they received just 60% of that help. 60%. And this is the best scenario. And I can tell you, if Ukraine, they receive 60% from this help that the West countries announced, that's a lot. That might help Ukrainians to stop the Russians. But let's talk about the best scenario for Ukraine. And the best scenario for Ukraine is as follows. Imagine yourself that these two companies, they know exactly that sooner or later this country will disappear. For any reason, this country will be destroyed, this company will be destroyed, bankrupted. They know this exactly. There are persons here who know this, there are persons here who know this, and they decided to supply this company, which in the end will be bankrupted. The general president of this company won't even be fined ever, and they start to support this company with products. In this case, they will start support Ukraine with ammo and shells. They're doing this, and they know exactly from the very beginning that in a year and a half, this country will disappear from the policy map. And nobody will ask these two companies, the budget and the produce company, nobody will ask about reports, because the company who received this help in the end will disappear. And according to my experience, in this case, the real supply from the money that announced, from the help that announced, is not more than 30%. I'm not telling you that the thing that I'm trying to describe you here is the real situation that happens with Ukraine, with the US budget and the company who produce vehicles, military things. I'm not saying this. I won't be able to provide you any evidence regarding this. But my experience telling me, I'm very familiar with these things. I won't go into details. You don't need them. But I'm telling you that the thing that I'm showing you right now is the real life. This is the picture of the real life. Now let's move to our comment. I hope you understood what I'm trying to say you in this video, and if it's necessary I will prepare another more detailed video regarding the schemas of financing the wars. But when I read this comment, I understood totally the different thing that I explained in the beginning of this video. If Ukraine was supplied by 7,000 Javelin, I think that more than 2,000 of Russian tanks should be destroyed by them. And if there are just 269 Soviet tanks have been destroyed visually, there are just two options here. The good scenario for Ukraine and the best scenario for Ukraine. And because of this number of 269 tanks, it's my opinion, it's not the opinion of military summary, it's my opinion. I think that West countries prepared for Ukraine, best scenario. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching, subscribe to my channel, and enjoy your weekend.